These things are actual tools. They have consequence. So someone gives you one jagged word like this, just applies one prophetic word on your life, that confusion enters your life. You're like, bet. And for the next 6 months, if someone does not deliver you and put balm on your wound, hey, you're this wounded person. Now, do you know how many people are walking around life saying God disappointed them? That God said something. There are two responses I have to you. Number one, some of you, God said nothing to you. You came up with your concoction and you stamped it with a fake stamp, thinking you created a stamp named God and stamped it. I claim this year shall be my year of this thing. God, I claim it. At the end of the year, you look at God and say, God, you failed me. You're lucky I'm not God. You would be hurt. Stop abusing God. Stop pointing at him. He didn't promise you any such thing. When did he? Say, I entered into a covenant with him. I've told you here. I say it again. You cannot enter a covenant with God. How can you be the only one that is right? You mean all the other bishops that have said it? Continue entering now. There's not a verse. Not one. You cannot enter a covenant with God. You should be thanking me. So you stop doing nonsense. I repeat, you cannot enter a covenant with God. You can only sign into a covenant that God has already created. You cannot. Go and find. I have a message. Message is out there where I talked about in detail the 5 covenants in the Bible. There have been only 5. Only 5. Some are for everybody. Noah's own was for the whole world. I will not destroy the whole earth again in flood. He will never. It's an unconditional covenant. You don't give anything to get it. He gives the sign, the rainbow. Do you still see rainbows? It's standing. Can't be cancelled. The Abrahamic one, he gave a small condition. Kill these animals, walk through. But it's built on faith. The next one, Israel, as mediated over by Moses. Moses was the officiating officer. The officer that mediated it. Israel's covenant. The law. That is the one that in a major way, in a major substance of the way it's done, has passed. Then you had David's covenant, the covenant of an everlasting throne, rulership. Jesus fulfills it. And then you have Jesus' own covenant, which covers all. All those people we've mentioned are called covenant heads. It's an individual that is at the front. So when you hear the children of Israel entered into a covenant that day, the king Hezekiah they entered into a covenant. They didn't create any covenant. They put their hands, they signed onto the covenant with Israel. That's all. Nobody, you can't create a covenant. Never have been able. Why? Because a lesser person cannot make a covenant for a greater person to enter. It has to be the big guy that says to the small guy, come, I'll enter into a covenant with your tribe. A covenant of friendship. My tribe will never fight your kingdom, your small kingdom that we swallow. We will never fight you. We will help you. We'll be brothers. And then they'll cut. Then there'll be bloodshed. You can't. Which blood have you poured to enter covenant? Your money. When did God enter the covenant with from birth? No. When he brought in the ark and he sent a message and said, I'll make you, he wanted to build him in a house. It's in your heart to build me a house. I will build you a house. Go and read it. Say, I will build you a house. God said, you want to build a house? I will build it. I will make you a house. And Jesus come. Jesus, the son of David. Son of David. You mean all my money has wasted that I used to enter covenant? Yes. All. Like you could have gotten whatever you're praying for without buying it. You could have just gone out empty-handed that day and say, God, please. This is how. Covenant of protection. Because in case you're here, you're wondering, the year has started, the year ended, the year started. You didn't see us have any special service, any covenant. Why? Just bring the money as offering. You see, and you see the problem with the children of God. You will not bring the big money to thank God because we won't demand it. Neither will we ask you. And nobody will wind your head. In fact, if you're not careful, some people have taken money and done covenants somewhere, service. And then, I go to church here, but I do covenant of protection. The only reason I'm angry with you is that we should have eaten that money together in one of these eateries. That's the only reason I'm angry. Other than that, I smile at your foolishness. You can't buy covenants. And I don't understand why people's covenants keep running out every year or some monthly. What kind of poor covenants? Get a proper lawyer to draft your next covenant, please. Don't you know a covenant can be stretched for 99 years? Why do you guys enter? Not you guys. But why are people such bad legal minds? You don't know. You have to be sharp when you're entering. They say this thing is for 5 years. Just sign, put it there. Make them read it quickly and pass. Have you seen what they call the small print? Make that side, reduce the font very small, so they will not read it. You haven't seen those warranties? They say you should read first before you click, even online, on computers. Never read them. If you check and see what they are saying, nothing. But they write it so plentiful and they put the catch phrase somewhere farther in the middle. So that if you ever sue them, you're young, they ever bother to sue any of those people, you've lost already. Because nobody ever read it. They say make sure you read it before you accept. Have you read it? No, I'm asking if you've seen these things. Why did they write it like that? Why don't they say the summary of this thing is so? To discourage your soul, it ever, so that when it doesn't work and you sue them, they will ask you, did you read? Read the thing. Someday you feel you have sinned and you're worthy of punishment. This is your punishment. Find one of those warranties and read them. Read through it like this. If you see the things they hide in there, things like this company will accept to correct this matter or not correct it depending on their discretion. Things that you should go like, I'm not buying. Imagine this. So it's on your discretion. So if you don't feel like fixing, you fix it. Take back they know you will not read it and go and see. So they just keep it. Because by law, they must tell you. I love those guys. And the lawyers that draft those things. Oh dear God. Now, I'm saying that you should have a better legal mind next time you want to enter a covenant. Sorry, next time you deceive yourself that you want to enter a covenant. Think about it. Say, God, this thing I'm giving for me and my family, we are not a rich family. May it cover 3 years. And drop it. How can you do covenant service first 3 days of the month? The next month, what kind of short term? No unbeliever is that foolish. And even if you wanted to make it solid. Put in terms. And people actually think the Most High God comes and says, see money, I sign. I'm always asking, do people ever die in those churches where they enter covenant of life? They can't die, it's a lie. They cannot die. You cannot die. You die for what? Didn't we enter covenant? You see one heavy unbeliever like this coming out to enter covenant for life. Heavy unbeliever. Not light. What kind of covenant did you just enter? With who? You mean God came for the signing? He didn't even turn on the throne. He didn't even turn. He was not even involved. Because in the first place, that whole construct, that whole legal arrangement is illegal. It doesn't come behind any covenant head. The covenant heads are in place. His name is Jesus Christ. There is no other mediator between God and man. Remember Moses, the mediator between... Jesus is the mediator of a better covenant. Is it your Bible? Who speaks better things than Abel's blood? And what does it speak? Mercy on this one. Have you read 1 Kings chapter 16? 2 Kings chapter 16. I won't open it so I don't enter trouble. Because if I get there, I won't come out. But let me tell you what it says. That a certain king called Ahaz was delivered by another king of Assyria, Tiglath-Pileser. And he went there to visit Syria. It was an Assyrian king that went and conquered Syria for this Israeli king. And he saw a big altar. Fine. And he gave instructions that they should make such an altar for him in Israel. And he went back to Israel, the temple of God, and shifted it's not tabernacle of Moses. If you've seen the real temple, he shifted the altar, the bronze altar at the front. The first thing, first of all, he put his own new altar, which he copied from a heathen king, in front of this altar. After a while, he shifted this one to the side, and he said, offer my own sacrifices here. Welcome to the church in the world, Pentecostal.